Hi Equals, it's Kim, and today we're going to do our second in a series about LGBT young people in schools. This one's going to be the easy one. So today we're going to cover LGBT young people, so lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender young people in schools where they have affirming parents, so parents who support them, and an affirming school, so a school that wants to support them and do the right thing. Sometimes people don't know what that right thing is. But certainly what we know, and I will be linking some resources below, GLSEN, the True Colors Fund, the Ohio School Board Association, that have various resources for schools about policies, etc. But school needs to have the right policies in place. So this would be enumeration is listing. So when, you know how sometimes they say, well, we don't discriminate based on race and religion and age, national origin, and then that list gets expanded at the states and local levels, and that list should include sexual orientation and gender identity. Sometimes people accomplish that by where it says sex, they'll put parentheticals around it that say including sexual orientation and gender identity. It's okay. Prefer it when they're just listed out separately. So need policies that enumerate around anti-bullying and harassment, around discrimination for teachers, because it's not always an LGBT young person. We could be talking about an LGBT teacher, principal, superintendent, school board member, could be talking about a student's parents who are LGBT. And we're going to talk specifically about the T today, but let's say we've got a child who's coming to school. Certainly if they're kindergarten age and they're entering school as the gender identity to which they identify, then this is a little bit easier because people in the school will never have known them in any other as anybody else. So that's a little bit easier, or if it's the first year in a school later in the child's life. But if this is a child who has been at the school before and is now coming back in the fall, and they have socially transitioned. So social transition means they're using a different name sometimes. If their original name, what they would call their dead name. If their dead name, or if their name was androgynous enough, they may use the same name or a variation of their same name. No big deal, but they'll be using different pronouns. So for example, I introduce myself, I say, I'm Kim Welter, and I use she, her, hers pronouns. It's a habit to get into. I'm not perfect yet. So they may be using a different set of pronouns, and their access to gendered spaces, their request for access to gendered spaces may be different. So they might have used, maybe in the past they were using the boys' bathroom, and now they're going to be using the girls' bathroom. These are things the school and the parents all need to work out, and there needs to be policy in place. Besides the discrimination, anti-harassment, anti-bullying, we need also a policy around transgender kids in schools. And this needs to be a fairly fluid policy. Now there's certainly samples on GLSEN's website, on the Ohio School Board Association's website, but in essence those samples say, we're going to work with each transgender individual one-on-one. Everybody's transition is different. Every situation is going to be somewhat different, but that all options are on the table. So this means that being able to use the bathroom that matches their gender identity, but not necessarily the sex they were assigned at birth, needs to be on the table. That's an option. As would be a single stall bathroom somewhere else, if the trans person said that that's where they felt safer. Now, if there's a cisgender person, so somebody who is not transgender, cisgender person who has an issue with being in the same bathroom as the transgender person, the answer is not to send the transgender person, young person, to a single stall bathroom somewhere. The answer is to send that cisgender person who doesn't feel safe to that single stall bathroom somewhere. It's kind of the same way that we shouldn't punish or hold a young person who is being bullied, right, responsible for the fact that they're being bullied. We often say, we hear stories of people who say, well, if you would just, be more manly, or if you just be more girly, or if you just be more something, less something, then people wouldn't bully you. No. You address the bully. You don't re-victimize the victim. Okay, so say the school has got all those policies in place, the parents are affirming, the principal and the parents have a conversation, and the staff has been trained in what it means to have a transgender child in school, and which includes making sure that staff realize they cannot use that child's dead name purposely. Sometimes these kinds of things happen accidentally, especially if we've known a child before they socially transition, and we may make a mistake. Mistakes happen. You just correct it, you move on, you don't make a big deal about it. What I'm calling out here is somebody who's purposely refusing to use the child's correct pronouns and the name that they want to be called. That's a no-no. And staff needs to be trained on that. And if there's somebody who's got an issue with it, then that needs to be addressed between their supervisors and that particular instructor. Okay. And when that happens, usually it goes really, really well. And there's no problems. Now, next time, we're going to talk about what happens when you have a transgender child in school where either the school is not affirming or the parents are not affirming. And now we've got a different story. There are a lot of schools in Ohio that do this well. It's come up for them. They've dealt with the situation, and everything has gone very, very smoothly. It's not usually children that have an issue here. Sometimes it's their parents. And the school just needs to be prepared to address those parents' concerns, and maybe there's a public education that's done for other parents. Those things are offered by groups around the state. But anyway, this kind of situation is easy. And below we will link the resources that have various policies that could be considered for schools that are affirming, for children with affirming parents. All right, if you like this, give me a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, hit the little notification bell so that you get notified every time I put up a new video. This one was a short and easy one. Next week, probably on Tuesday, will be the one that's a little bit more difficult. Have a good weekend, equals.